can we just let the records reflect that Councilmember Brigham, Assistant City Manager Thompson, and myself are present, as well as you, Irene, of course. And calling the meeting to order. The first is communications. Kevin, it looks like we have one from Rob about
Yeah, several
all electric reach codes.
Yeah, so I'll just let you know, I read through them. I just look to see if he has any questions, but these are all informational. So he's just really interested in that reach code. I don't think we're doing much with it. I think that might be an item further on, but we are not planning to move forward. I mean, at this point, it's just difficult. We were going to have a second workshop, but given the current situation, and I don't feel like anyone's really beaten down the door to get the reach code in place. So,
right.
I would really like to see this put off until next year. We might have a new council sitting, and this is a big decision, this reach code thing. So,
well, it is item 5H. We can later on, but
yeah, okay. It is a big item, Marianne, and we need the town to weigh in on it, not just the council. And then there was some concerns about the car wash and the sidewalk obstructions.
Yeah, the sidewalk, I talked to Hector. He went out and talked to the manager of the mobile home park who's going to clear that out this week.
Okay.
And then the car wash is something we've talked about in this committee before. We haven't sent any letters to him recently. We can do that. Or we discussed, you know, stepping it up a notch and getting Myers-Nave involved, and which I apologize if that was the direction in the past, but I'm happy to get that ball rolling if that's the direction. It's not really on the agenda, but
yeah. Well, you know, Kevin, I'd be open to you reaching out to him to set up just a coffee clutch, maybe the three of us.
Okay.
And let's just sit down with him.
Can I ask a question about this?
Yeah.
Is it actually still functioning? Can people still put money in it?
I don't know.
Because that's the only part of it that bothers me. To tell you the truth, the only part that bothers me is the fact that if people are putting $2 in and then it doesn't work. So even if he decides he wants to keep it and just wants to hold that property, then maybe he would agree to just close it completely. Because the biggest complaints I get, emails and stuff, is the fact that they put $2 in there and then it doesn't work, or the vacuum doesn't work, or this doesn't work. So maybe he give him an ultimatum of either close it down, fix it, or, you know, but Gus, maybe you can get further with court than I can.
I'd be willing to try, Kevin, if you want to broker that call.
I will. We did receive that complaint about it eating the quarters, and we did refer it to this. I guess it's Sonoma County Weights and Measures, who is in charge of that kind of. I don't know if they did anything, but we did.
I think you're cutting out on us, or I'm cutting out on everyone.
I can hear you.
We did refer it to the, I think it's called Weights and Measures Department of the county. Can you hear me, Gus? Or
yep.
Now I can. Yeah.
I'll reach out to him and see if we can get that meeting going.
Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you. Maybe he can't hear us.
I can hear you now. Okay.
Oh.
I'm going to have to go move back out into the garage where the Wi-Fi is, instead of in the office where the air conditioning is. Can you hear me now, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
All
can.
Right. Okay. So if you can go ahead and set something up with him, Kevin, I think I'd be more than happy to join you. Maybe we can just sit down and chat with him.
Will do.
Okay. Any other communications? I think I received a couple this morning, Irene, and I asked you to put them on the under communications, but I guess they'll just go in the minutes at this point.
That's correct. So just let the record reflect that we did receive the mayor's email regarding 2 properties where several complaints have been received regarding related to code enforcement as well for weed abatement and cleanup.
Okay, good. And Raphael said he'd take care of those. He's gonna be up in Cloverdale tomorrow, so
Great.
he said he'd check them out.
Which ones are they? Do we know?
I do. One of them is on Josephine. I think it's 315. It's down next to Neva and Don Goodman, right around the corner from where the chief is renting,
Yeah,
where 4th and Josephine is on the lower end.
yeah.
Just a lot of weeds. And then the other one is right around the corner from me. Shirley Davis brought it to my attention this morning in reference it's Pat from the Cloverdale Rancheria. Patricia, is it?
Patricia Hermosillo?
I believe so. I believe it's her property.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and it's unsightly. So it's either her or Vicky. I think it's Vicky's, come to think of it.
She's the younger one.
Oh, then it's I don't know. I don't know. I'm not good at telling a woman's age, so my wife keeps telling me.
Careful there, Gus.
My wife keeps telling me she's 22, and what do I know? So,
Just believe her.
okay, let's move on to public comment. Anyone wishing to address the city council on items that do not appear on the agenda may do so. And Irene, do we show anybody in the waiting room for public comment or anything?
Nope, our waiting room is empty.
Okay, we'll move right along. Approval of the minutes for August the 18th. Mary Ann, have you had a chance to take a peek at them?
I move approval.
Okay, Kevin, I'm okay with them? Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right, current items, update on tax allocation for Baumgartner Ranch financing. Not
Yeah,
sure.
so I wanted to take this opportunity to address some of the concerns in the community regarding the project, and I can be really quick here, and let me know if anything's of interest to you, and I can expand on that. And this is really based on Angela Cordova's email that we received about a month ago, and we referred it to this committee for discussion. The first one, really quick, is about the farm workers. Yes, there is a portion of this project that will be dedicated to farm worker housing, farm worker employment. Also, there'll be some regular affordable housing units. He's still working on his financing. I did include a bunch of information from Jake Lingo, the developer, in response to some of these questions. So I'm summarizing some of these. So there will be some. There was another comment that it was not full, and there was they couldn't find people, and Jake clarified that it's actually 100% full, and there's an 83 family waiting list, which is about he estimated almost 3-year waiting list. So there's that. And then I did, let me know if you want to know more about this, but I did have him send me what the definition of a farm worker is, and it's pretty extensive. I mean, it goes into the truck drivers, any type of processing, anything to do with the crops. It's not just folks out in the fields picking whatever. It's a very broad definition. But I mean, the takeaway there is some of those units will be reserved in the same way as Cloverdale family apartments. And that's a function of his financing through USDA. The one upside to that I see is that he's building a lot of affordable units and not asking for the city for anything, which is very unusual. I did affordable housing in Windsor for 10 years, and that was never the case. So, that's his financing, but he said there will be a portion of them available to regular, low-income folks earning 60% of area median or less. There was some discussion about how the project just kind of was never advertised or talked about. This project's been in the works for 2.5 years. He said multiple discussions with the school district. We had 5 publicly noticed meetings where we sent out notices to people who live within 300 feet. Nobody really showed up. We had a couple inquiries. There's some discussion of us having a public information officer, which we can't. I mean, that's a luxury position that Healdsburg.
Not going to happen. Yeah.
I know it would be cool, but it's just expensive, and we need a lot of other things before that. there's the water impact, and I've been doing a lot of research on this, and I'm trying to get together a really good PowerPoint for the Planning Commission who's requested it, and maybe the council too, if you're interested, about what our water situation really is. You know, the general plan considered that our population would be 12,000. Here's an interesting thing I found that was, I don't know how to react to it, but you know, the Department of Finance tracks our population year to year, and it's pretty accurate. And according to them, we lost 66 people last year, not living, moved out of Cloverdale. So that was kind of surprising to me. But we do have a water master plan that indicates that we have enough water. It's based on the 12,000 population, and we have senior water rights to the river. There's some question about the Potter Valley. Yeah, I think that's something we should think about and have on our radar, but I can't imagine it's less than 10 years out. And I don't know that we should be making decisions now based on something that could happen. I mean, it's a radical thing that they want to do. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but you know, we do monitor it. And then the sewer, there was a sewer question. You know, it started out by saying the sewer is maxed out. It's not maxed out. According to our master sewer study, we have capacity. And then, you know, we're working at about 45% capacity right now. And, you know, we have the study, and then we have another study that was done in 2015 from RMC. It concluded we have capacity for growth. And I called Jay too directly and just asked him, and he concurred with that. So I just don't think the assertion that we're completely maxed out on sewer is at all accurate. So there's that. There's public safety. The contention here is that the project is adding a 20% population to our town, which really isn't correct. If it's just say it is 296 units, just if that's where we end up. The general plan estimates 262.6 people per unit. That's 777 people. It's about 8% population growth. And then, you know, that's kind of correlated with fire and police. You know, I talked to the chief about it, and all these projects were routed to all the departments for comments. She said, yeah, we'll have more calls. We can certainly handle it. And also, David and I have been discussing with him the community facilities district. It's going to pick up, you know, a lot of the expense of maintaining this project in terms of roads, police, fire. There's some discussion of the schools. The project will be paying $1.35 million in school impact fees. No, I mean, there's a lot of discussion. It really is incumbent on the school district to understand how the city is growing and adjust their fees accordingly and plan that way. So you know, there's some comments here about, you know, how we should be setting aside money for the schools, which of course really isn't our role. And it's going to pay $1.3 million in school fees. Again, about the public noticing, we had 5 public hearings. I don't know what more we can do with that. You know, there's some discussion of the parking, which, you know, we've had this discussion at the council level. The project's providing 655 parking spaces, which is 2.2 per unit. You know, the affordable housing section, you know, there is less parking there. But as we discussed at the council, it's the state law of the concessions that they can ask for, and we don't have a lot of ability to say no if they're providing affordable housing. And then just in conclusion, you know, there's this kind of sentiment that the city's going to carry the burden of this project. And, you know, this they did do that economic report, which is very extensive. It's very new. It was completed this year. Really concluded that the project was financially neutral. And if we add a community assessment district on top of that, we're in even a better position. And the study didn't really contemplate, you know, additional sales tax from more folks living in town and kind of the secondary effects of having some population. And the other thing is we really haven't had any big developments in many, many years. And our general plan contemplated a population of 12,000. The general plan runs to 24. So with this project, we'll be just under 10, if it gets built, and it's 2.6, and then it leaves 2,000 for the next, 5 years. So, David, you weren't here, but Mayor Walter asked me to respond to Angela in writing, which I'm going to do. And I have it all in note form right now, but I'll formalize it and get back to her.
Yeah, and if you could CC me on that, and I'm sure Mary Ann would like to take
Yeah,
a look at it.
I would like to too, because I'm gonna get the same kind of blast about it. And
Yeah,
it's
I'm happy. I've been researching this, and we have contemplated updating our water and sewer studies, which are, getting on 5-6 years old. And I think we may do that just to answer the community's questions about our water and sewer situation. I'm pretty confident that we have capacity, based on my discussions with Public Works Director, our studies, and how much growth has actually occurred since those studies were completed. So, we didn't just jam this project through without any analysis. There's probably 500 pages of analysis from arborists, traffic engineers, biologists, and economists. So it's been studied. So I mean, that's kind of where we are. It is an approved project, and the gist of this email is to reconsider the project. So,
Well, I think I think you covered everything nicely.
okay,
I think that email will go a long way, especially with the definition of a farm worker. That's a broad brush. That's a lot of individuals working in the agricultural industry. So, I'm comfortable with that. I mean, and then as far as 66 people leaving Cloverdale, you put that in perspective with the number of people that left California. I'm sure every town, might have had a decrease. So I'm not concerned about 66 people leaving California. Heck, Sue left California. And so there's one for 2020. And, if I could find someplace where the weather's nice, I'd probably leave California. So that's
I
not.
thought it was interesting, that,
Yeah.
and the other thing I just to wrap up, and I didn't write this down. It's not necessarily germane to, well, it is germane to it, but I looked up the school district enrollment, and it's flat and even going down a little bit. And so I know they're concerned about having maxed out classrooms, but there hasn't been a significant growth in the enrollment.
Mhm.
And so I just, I do think it's on them to sort of plan for what's coming down the pipe in terms of growth and impact fees, and understand what they need how to accommodate that. So,
Right. Well, that's, I mean, the project's going to move forward, and, I don't think we could hold it up, nor would we want to, based on population, an unknown influx of students to the Cloverdale School District. Councilmember Brigham, anything else on this?
no, I think we should just be completely transparent. Sure, yeah, 30 to 50 of the units are going to be for farm worker housing. I
Yeah,
mean,
nothing wrong with that. They need housing too.
yeah, I don't see a problem with that. So I'd just be incredibly transparent and give us numbers, and I'll fight the battle.
Yeah. Well, I keep saying, and I'll say it again, that Cloverdale Family Apartments, I'm just so impressed with that facility and the way it's kept, how clean it is. It's like a little village, every time I go in there, I mean, there's kids running around, going to the computer room, and it's just heartwarming to see families come together like that. And
yeah,
I don't,
according to Jake, there's 83 families waiting to get in there. So there is a demand.
I could see that. And what I like about it too is, if there is an issue, we make one phone call. We don't make 80 phone calls or however many units there are. And that goes a long way with helping to keep it clean and nice. So, okay.
I'll respond with a formal email and CC both Mayor and Councilmember Brick, and then they'll give you guys at least some talking points. And just to summarize real quick, I am working on a sort of a water and sewer analysis for the Planning Commission. I'm not sure I'll be able to get on the next one, but they've requested it, and I just want to put their minds at ease because they're concerned, and I'm sure they're hearing it from the public in emails like this that we're maxed out, and now they're getting a little concerned that they should know more about that. And so we're working to get that information, even though I'm very confident that we do have capacity, and if we didn't, we would know about it from Jay or Darren. So I think the findings in our studies are still accurate.
Yeah. Well, needless to say, there's a lot out there on the increase in the water rates and sewer rates. A lot of negative press and all. And David, that's one of the things I wanted to talk with you about when we get together. I think it's tomorrow or the next day. Just kind of like how we could do like a graph to go along with that, to explain it a little more in detail. But yeah, so I'd be ready for that to come at you too, Kevin, just why we increasing rates so much, and we're taking on more people and who's paying for that and all that kind of stuff that goes with it.
And why we don't have some type of a senior low income discount. I don't know how you do it, but.
Oh, okay.
Well, just a couple of things to follow up on. As Kevin mentioned, we do want to have a technical analysis performed on our capacity for our water system and our wastewater system, so that we have a kind of a technical memorandum that we can point to by an independent consultant, that analyzes it, and then we track it with when projects are approved, so you can kind of see how those projects address capacity, how they reduce capacity, if you will, because I think that's an issue that we're hearing from the community, is saying, well, is there adequate water and adequate wastewater treatment capabilities, and we can really point directly to the study to confirm it, rather than kind of putting Kevin on the hot seat and trying to justify it, even though we know just from the operational perspective that we have adequate capacity. But to your point, Councilmember Brigham, one of the things we would like to do, and we of course, it's dependent on the where council goes with the update on rates, is use a portion of any of the late fees, because what we can't do, unfortunately, is use rate revenue to subsidize one group of folks, whether they be seniors or low income. But what you can do is you can use late fees and penalties to develop a program to assist either seniors or low income residents. And so during the rate study, I coordinated with the consultant, Mark Hildebrand, and he said, comfortably we could use 25% of late fees to help customers with payment utility payments. So that's something we want to. There's a lot of nuances to it, and want to make sure it targets the right population. So that's something we would plan to bring forward, assuming council ultimately supports approving the rates. So it could be done currently.
Thank you.
I think, David, I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. What I was referring to is an infograph. I received an email from Melanie Bagby a couple of days ago, and she thinks it would be helpful if we developed an infograph so that we could more effectively communicate to the public the increase that we're looking for in water and sewer rates. I did happen to Google what the heck that was, and because I didn't know what an infograph is, but it looked very I don't know, it explained things what I was looking at a little better. So we might want to consider that, but that's
Oh,
your-
absolutely. And Mayor, if you see one that you think, I mean, because usually it's kind of a graphical artist component.
cartoon-like, yes.
And, it's a question of whether there's staff that we have the capabilities to put something together that conveys the message. I want to make sure, first and foremost, that we get the data accurate so we can start getting messaging out. In fact, the senior staff this week, we talked about starting some messaging on Facebook, just about, what are the anticipated rate increases? Because I think people are catching on to, our residents are catching on to certain catchphrases, which I don't think is necessarily accurate based on what the rate study says. So,
Yeah. I thought the consultant would do one of those for us.
yeah, I'll certainly ask if he has the capability to do that, because it is a good idea to try to depict it, graphically or through imaging.
Simple.
Mhm.
The
Keep
bar
it simple.
chart a lot, and just to show where we stand relative to our other neighboring cities and where they are with their rates, and we're still one of the lowest. But that was in the Prop 218 notice, but not too many folks are referencing that.
Yeah.
I skimmed over that part.
Well,
Right.
well, yeah, I'd like to blame the capital improvement projects that we have to do, the ones that are mandated without funding. I like to point to that as the blame for increasing the rates, which I think it is. And I think if we have those side by side in corresponding years, maybe people could better understand why we have to do what we do.
Right.
And another piece of information maybe for that would be what new development is paying for. I don't know if we can get that in there, because the gist of these emails are that we're going to be, supporting development, when the reality is we're using the money they're paying us to do things like drill the new well.
Right.
Yeah, but they see it as that they're paying for the new well that we need because of these new developments.
Which, is
That's why
half,
we have-
but it benefits everyone.
I know, but they're not thinking that way. But yeah, the more information we can get out there, the better.
Yeah.
And people do respond to graphics better than long, rambling sheets of paper. They just do.
Right.
Okay. So if we're done with that item, I hate to cut everyone short.
I'm done.
Anything else? Okay. Let's move on to regional, where are we? Regional housing needs. And Kevin?
Yeah, this is real quick. I just wanted to let the committee know that I did sign on to a letter with all the other planning directors in the county, sort of taking issue with the way that ABAG, was the Bay Area Association of Governments, who assigns us our RENA numbers, which every 5 to 7 years they say you shall build this number of units. It's a little heavy-handed this year, and they've identified areas, particularly in unincorporated county, where they think housing can go, on places like cemeteries and where there's railroad tracks, and just it hasn't been as collaborative as we like. The numbers were going up about 100 in this RENA cycle. I can't remember the numbers. I have it right here, but it's about 400 is what they're going to expect us to accommodate in the next RENA cycle, starting 2022 for 7 years, which, the current RENA we're meeting, thanks in large part to the Baumgartner project, but we haven't had problems meeting our RENA numbers, which, again, we're not on the hook to build anything. They're just making sure we're not putting impediments in the way of development, and that we have enough land zoned appropriately to accommodate what they're proposing that we need. But really, the point of this was just to let you know I signed on to this letter, and I think it was attached in the report. You can take a look at that if you're interested. But it's most of what was happening that people were kind of objecting to was in the unincorporated county. So we are going to be undertaking a new housing element And I think we do have some grant money coming in to help us. They've added a bunch of layers to it. If you keep identifying the same parcel as where development can go, and it's been the one you've used several times, and they're adding a little more layers of what you have to do to count that again, like make multifamily available by right. So really it's almost to just a building permit. So there wouldn't be a planning commission and council hearing. There's other things. If you have to identify on each site how many units can go there. Say, hey, we're going to put 50 on this corner. If it ends up being 40, then you got to make up for the other 10 somewhere else. But there's a lot of changes. But really, the point of this item really was that we did get the way ABAC was conducting their RENA cycle in the information stage right now. I don't know if it'll go anywhere, but it was signed by all the planning directors of the county.
And this is why people are leaving California.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
What are the consequences, by the way, if we don't meet the numbers?
Really not that much. I mean,
I didn't
We
think
want-
so, yeah.
no, they're trying to put more teeth in it, but the reality is we're not developers. Our role is just to make sure we can accommodate what they think we need. And if we, putting impediments in the way that they, like lengthy processes, extraordinary, design review that's really extravagant, parking requirements that are what they view to be too cumbersome, things like that. So they'll check those things. But we can't build anything ourselves. So
No.
they just want us to set the stage so that developers can build it.
Okay.
okay. Next is review climate change. And this was the one that you wanted to talk about, the letter that we got from Rob. Did you not?
No, I was thinking on the reach code, that would be 5H, because most of Rob's
Oh,
course,
okay.
has to do with the reach code.
So this is climate change and sustainability projects / technologies.
Yeah, so it's kind of the same as the last. We have been engaging with PG&E to do this sort of large scale look at our operations, looking for energy efficiency projects that would be financed from the savings. So it's kind of like on bill financing. At this point, we've done a walkthrough of our systems, and they've gone to all I went with me and a few engineers of theirs went to all the facilities. They took a lot of pictures, but I still have not heard back on what projects they'll be proposing. They did say that it looked very positive, that they could bundle enough projects to make it financially feasible. So we're optimistic about that. The whole point of this program really is that we put very little money out, if any, and the savings that we achieve is what is used to finance the projects. So at some point during the financing, if say it's a 7-year payback, we pay it back in 7 years or on bill, the life of the project is 20, we get the 13 years of a new whatever it is. So that water, wastewater are our big energy users. So we're at this point, we're awaiting their list of projects. Once we get that, we'll bring that to the council, do a check-in. The next step will be what they call industry grade. I think that's what they called it. Industrial grade audit. It's where they really get deep into the numbers. And then if it makes sense, they bundle those together and we do an RFP, or we sole source all the work to a consultant, and then we'll have to look at our procurement policies on how we do that. But that's it. I mean, we're probably a quarter of the way through the process. The good news is their initial take on our facilities was that there was going to be some opportunities. And this could be things in City Hall too, like windows and lighting, things like that. I guess the other big project there on this front is the Tesla batteries that will be installed at the wastewater plant to help us not use electricity when electricity costs the most. I mean, that's really in the simplest terms. When the meter rating, I forget exactly what they call it, but the time of use varies the electric cost. So we'll shave that down by the batteries will go on when the electricity is the most expensive, and they'll charge up when it's cheaper. And the savings, I can't remember the savings, maybe David does, I think it was 40 grand a year or something like that with no out of pocket. So we are doing things. This is kind of David and I, David helps a lot on this stuff, and we don't have like a sustainability officer, but we try to do what we can when these ideas are presented, and hopefully we're making some good progress.
Good.
I think you're on mute, Gus.
Any questions, Marianne?
No, it sounds like a good idea.
Okay, on those jingles, let's move on to 6 Acres Water Park.
Yeah, the only update I have here is I have a meeting with Lori Lyle next week. Things got pretty quiet. I don't know if it had to do with Sage and her unfortunate loss, but Lori Lyle has agreed to meet with me to discuss their latest version of the annexation agreement. So I'm going to agree to do that, and I will report back. I hope we're getting close, because the thing is a little crazy, but
Well, I thought we were at the point where we were going to get Jose and their attorney locked in a room and
They
come
did
up
that.
with something. They did that already.
they did that.
Oh, boy. That doesn't sound promising.
Well, Jose had a call with them, and basically the resulting amendments to the agreement are what I have now and what Lori and I are going to discuss.
Okay.
And I just took this approach. She asked me if I could just meet with her without the attorneys and everyone else, and I said yes. And I'll probably go over their amendments. Maybe I'll talk to Jose and see what he thinks beforehand, and we'll go from there.
All right. Okay. Let's move on to update on Sonoma County Transit Route number 68.
Other than your interaction with the bus going through the senior complex there, I don't have a lot of updates. I don't know if David has anything on that particular issue regarding Route 68.
Well, I think, Councilmember Cruz has got that under control. At least I think she does, David. But, that's still the free. We don't charge for that. And David, wasn't that a recommendation to get that $8,000 back into the city coffers as part of our financial analysis that was done?
I didn't see them specifically mention the
Bus route?
the Fare Free program, but they did mention.
They
You know,
did. I'm pretty sure that was one of them. It was the chamber, that
I didn't-
one, and girls.
But I do remember they mentioned that the funding for, the service organizations was a key way to reduce city expenses.
All right. Well, I don't want to spend time talking about the bus going through the Kings Valley housing there. I think we're beating that thing to death. And like I said, I know Councilmember Cruz actually went and sat there listening to the bus. And so she's got some information on that she's going to share, I guess, with somebody. So
If the mayor would like, we could take this off. This was a hangover from Councilmember Cruz, who was very involved with Route 68 when she was on this committee. But if you want to continue, that's fine. I don't know. I'm not suspecting too many updates, but we can keep it on if you'd like.
as far as I'm concerned, I don't know how Marianne feels, but as far as I'm concerned, we can take it off. I think when we were talking about it, my big concern was getting the bus on the other side of the bridge out in the county area to pick up some of the school kids if we were redoing the routes. But if everything's going to stay the same, we can knock it off. Marianne?
Okay with me. If anything big comes up with it, I'm sure you guys will let us
Mary Ann?
know. Yeah,
Can you hear it, Gus?
Yeah, and I'm gonna be setting up a meeting, well, probably a Zoom call with Brian. Just a couple of related things. This isn't so much about the route itself, but they are interested in starting to look at planning for an electric bus on Route 68. And that may involve putting in a charging station somewhere within the city. That's quite an expense. And I don't expect that the city will have funds to be able to contribute to that project, though that has been one of the points that some of the folks have expressed support for as an all electric bus. But if council, if there's, they really wanted to see an electric bus, we'd of course convey that to Brian and dedicate time to try and plan for an electric bus to replace the current CNG bus.
If it doesn't cost us anything, I'm all for it. The last charging station that I saw was actually, they cut out a piece of the asphalt where the bus parks, waiting for people to get on it. And it sits right there and charges automatically without having to be plugged in. Somehow it's like taking your iPhone and putting it on a automatic pad where it charges it. I would imagine that's pretty costly. So if we have to foot the bill for that, I'm not so sure we can afford that. So
probably not.
Well, I'll find out more details when I meet with Brian, and we can report back. Probably would be more of a public works item.
Okay.
Finding a location for a charging station, and it may if it's requires a city contribution, then it'll be a finance component to it as well.
Okay.
All right, I'm really having a problem with my connection. So why don't we move on, if everybody can hear me okay,
We can hear you.
to a park location, a dog park location.
Yeah, nothing, really to report. As you mentioned earlier, we are going to be negotiating with Mr. Lingo regarding the Gardner, what will be the park there. I don't know if it makes sense to put one there. I heard your concerns, Mr. Mayor. It makes sense to me, but I would hope that whatever comes of that park is really focused on what the needs are for that community. And given, the lack of lot size, it's just kind of not really, maybe a community garden. I don't know, but we'll be bringing that forward.
Okay.
Like an at-large community or an at-large dog park, I don't have any updates.
Okay. Yeah, that dog park, that skate park, that should be strictly for that housing development, I think. We can't expect them to foot the bill for the whole town. How about update on community development planning log?
Yeah, the only real update here is what I shared with the school committee was that the Dry Creek Rancheria has submitted their application for that project on the south end, which includes an annexation, subdivision, some infrastructure pieces. We've only had it about a week. We're reviewing it now. There's some question whether the school is what they've told us is the school is part of that annexation. The school needs to be part of that annexation. Otherwise, we would be running afoul of the county rules regarding creating islands. But it is still for their tribe elders, 25, very modest single story homes, single family, with a kind of a little community room there for them. We've been talking about this a long time, but they did finally apply. We're still waiting for a couple of pieces of things, information from them. But it should be moving forward. And, you know, according to Mr. Doble, they have money to do certain infrastructure pieces that would be beneficial to the city. He's concerned about timing. So we'll do our best to get it through as fast as possible. It is a lengthy process. You know, they did choose a piece, you know, vacant piece of property, two parcels away from the city limits and with no infrastructure. So, you know, there's a reason why it was probably a little bit cheaper. There's a lot more work to be done up front. So I will work with him and try to get it through as fast as possible. If, you know, just give him an opportunity to develop that.
And
David?
and I'm concerned that we can do all kinds of actions to move quickly on this, but the project does not meet LAFCO policies, and by council approving it, you would also be running afoul of your general plan because you'd be creating an island with the school parcel. The school has not provided any authorization for their property to be annexed. And in fact, school board member did raise, you know, technical legal issues at the Joint City School Subcommittee. Now, we can certainly propose and do it of our own accord that we just require, you know, and include the school district parcel in the annexation and do all the environmental review. But that means the city can incur the cost of doing the environmental review unless the tribe is going to pay for it. And then, you know, what if we don't have landowner approval? Because the parcel, I think, because it would be based, the annexation could be based on the size of the amount of acreage, depending on how many registered voters there are. You know, they could easily, if they say they're opposed, it would kill the annexation. So, you know, I don't know if council's, this subcommittee's recommendation is we try to coordinate on behalf of the tribe, get the school district to participate, or whether the applicant should be doing that. My recommendation would be that the applicant should be negotiating that, just like any other annexing party normally would. But you know, that's a policy decision. If you want staff to pursue getting the school board's permission for annexation.
Well, it was quite clear at last night's subcommittee meeting when Preston said that, just to kind of paraphrase him, if we don't get the parks and the baseball field and everything built on our property down there, we're not going to go ahead and ask to be annexed in. That was my takeaway. He and I do have a coffee date for Friday morning early. And so that's one of the topics I'm going to ask him. But David, do you think it's worthwhile at this point to not spend a lot of money, but just get Jose's opinion on seeing how it's a school district and the land is held differently than most parcels? Is it something that we can jump over and still be legal according to LAFCO? Because the ownership is completely different.
It is, but we can certainly. I mean, I think that's an excellent recommendation, Mayor, and we could certainly do that. Though with the ownership, I don't believe LAFCO rules allow you to jump property just because of the nature of their ownership. But again, you know, to have a legal opinion on that would be beneficial, because you know, it's also going to weigh in on how infrastructure is extended to that property. You know, if you have to try to create with, you know, sanitary sewer and water are going around that, it's going to present some unique challenges for the developers. But that's a separate issue. It's really a legal one, whether we could even annex the property without, and therefore create an island.
Well, I just thought they would bring their water and sewer in from the warehouse off of Dutcher Creek Road. Off of Dutcher Creek Road there,
Yeah.
where the wine storage is being built now. I thought that's the way they would come into their property.
And that's currently how they would do it. Of course, what that means is that you're putting, we'll bear the burden of the infrastructure, the pumps, and because it's not gravity flow from that particular location. Like the Vintners Co-op has to, they have a force main to bring it up to the Renner parcel. The Renner parcel was kind of the last parcel where you could have gravity flow to the treatment plant, but then it drops down on the other side. So you have to pump it up to that location before you can get gravity flow. And that's why they've been putting tremendous pressure on Kevin with the TFD studies, because or on the master plan, is because they know that it's going to require them to pump the wastewater uphill. And my take on that is they may want to pay for the cost of it because of we're not in a position to do so. But what we will have to do then thereafter is maintain it, which maintaining lift stations, requires a lot of staff, because you really have to inspect them fairly routinely, make sure that they're not clogged, and it just depends on the nature of the use, and especially if they've indicated they want to do some commercial development. You have commercial development with a lift station, it becomes a significant maintenance requirement. But that's what we're trying to work out with the master plan in that area. So if you take the school out of the picture, it just becomes a little more challenging.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and for the annexation, I think the fastest, easiest way is to ask the applicant for some verification that the school's on board, because that's what they've been telling us all along. So if they can produce something, then the problem is solved. The other thing, Mark and I have a phone call with GHD, who's working on our infrastructure study to the south in direct relation to this project. So we're gonna, present this project to them and get their take on a couple of things, like David mentioned, the lift station and some roads. So,
Okay.
It's more than just permission. It's the CEQA environmental requirements that that LAFCO will require, and certainly council needs to consider as part of the annexation. We'll have to consider the development on that parcel, unless, again, I think that's what you're asking, is there some kind of exemption for the school so that we can allows the city to approve a project that creates an island, if that's what the council supports, that kind of land use.
Right.
I think we've learned our lesson about islands by now, I would hope.
Well, yeah, but I'd hate to see the housing, these 25 units held up because the school district is, trying to get something for nothing, quite frankly. I mean, and the thing that really goats me is Jake said, yeah, okay, get your paperwork together, and they didn't even do that. So.
No, I don't disagree with you. I agree with you 100%, and I don't understand why the school district, quite honestly, is being so uncooperative in many projects.
Yeah.
So that's starting, I think, to eat at everybody.
Right.
But I can't see LAFCO as they're kind of assholes in some ways, but they don't really give you much ground.
Well, look, the school board members are up for re-election as well. So maybe we'll be dealing with a whole new school board here in a couple of months. So we'll see.
Can I ask a question? Would if they're only putting sports fields out there, they're still going to need to do, they'd still need restrooms and stuff, wouldn't they, on the property if they were doing that? Yeah, never mind. I get it.
Yeah, and actually, again, because right now it's county property, so we don't have any authority over land use
No.
on that parcel whatsoever. It really falls to the county, and the county is zoned industrial, so we'd have to go and look at the county zoning and determine whether, you know, sports fields and you know, other things are permissible. Though the school district might say, well, if they're school facilities, then they're exempt from zoning.
Yeah.
But you know, again, that it gets kind of complicated. So then, are they going to go to the state architect and ask for approval for playgrounds and playfields? I don't know.
Hard to say. I would ask if the tribe is saying that they've got approval, you know, that the school's going to annex into. Is that what you meant? That they have been saying that?
They've been saying that for months, but I don't see anything. And the other thing, David, is that they're doing their CEQA document, and then we're going to have it peer reviewed, but we have not received that CEQA document yet. So I'll be curious to see what the scope of that is, if it includes.
Includes the school.
Yeah.
Yeah, Councilmember Brigham, we raised that issue with the school at the Joint City School Subcommittee yesterday, that the developers had said the school's on board for annexation of their parcel. And I know that the mayor was there. I mean, I think their sentiment was, we don't know anything about it. Now, whether that's accurate or not, I'm not sure, but
Oh, God.
kind of their comment. So either the Dry Creek Rancherias doesn't have the school on board, or the school's on board and they're not telling us.
Well, I don't even, politically, it would be a big black eye for them. Oh, I'm frustrated. Never mind.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on out of that subject, if that's okay.
Yep.
What do we have left here? Follow-up information on reach codes. Is that the last one, Kevin?
Yes, it is. And I just want to let you know, I have been reading through Mr. Kozlowski's emails, and I'm just trying to identify if there's any questions in there that he's asking, but it just seems like it's mostly informational. And we all know his position on it. You know, where we left it was that we were going to have a second workshop in the community with developers and contractors, but we haven't been able to do that.
Next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Information only memos.
None.
Future agenda items.
The only thing I'd kind of like to get the skate park back on here, just so we can occasionally find out where that's headed. Now, I mean, no pressure about anything, just the current, just to check in, like we do with the dog park.
Okay. I'm okay with that. When's our next meeting? David, are we going to have a meeting, you think, in November?
Council meeting, you mean?
Yeah. No, a subcommittee meeting,
The next meeting is scheduled for December.
December 15th. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we could put that on there. Pending items? Anything pending? Or good
Okay.
of the order? Kind of racing through this, staff. Stop me if I'm going too fast.
You're fine.
My wife's cooking dinner, so that don't happen too often, so I'm going to take advantage of it.
Don't be mean to Cindy, I'll tell.
Oh, boy. Okay, good of the order. Anything?
No, sir.
All right. Well, Irene, as always, thank you for doing a wonderful job. And Kevin, thank you. And I look forward to that email once you get to it. And we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Mariana, is there anything else before we go?
Nope, I'm smelling nice things out of my kitchen too, so let's go.
Okay.
See you guys.
All
Bye.
right. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.